The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome to the Marketing with Purpose Kit series of the Bliss Business Podcast, where we explore what it really takes for marketing leaders to create impact that goes beyond the numbers. I'm Michelle, and in each episode, I sit down with CMOs to explore their leadership approach and strategies that drive performance and resonate with their audience. Together, we'll dive into what's working, what's not, and how purpose and empathy can transform the way brands connect with people. Let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Lindsey McFadden, Chief Marketing Officer at Stretch Zone. Lindsey brings deep experience in multi-unit marketing, branding, PR, and communications, with hands-on experience helping franchise and corporate teams scale together. Since joining Stretch Zone, she's overseen rapid growth, opening 140 new studios to date, while supporting over 400 locations across 41 states, and without a single studio closure. In her role, she leads a dynamic team focused on aligning brand messaging, franchise support, and customer experience. We're going to explore customer connection in a data-driven world, and I'm excited to dive in. Lindsey, before we dive in, I'd love to hear, why was customer connection in a data-driven world the topic you chose to explore today, and what makes it so important right now?
I think this is so relevant to what I talk about all day, every day. Here at Stretch Zone, we're in the people business, right? We provide a personal one-on-one service. And while we need the data and all the KPIs and insights to make smart decisions and guide different initiatives appropriately, at the end of the day, it's about the people, right? And that connection, not just with our end user, the member, but also with our internal team and then our teams at the store level, right? So I think, to me, everything can kind of get so caught up in the data and the KPIs, and we need to take a step back sometimes and let that pendulum correct a little bit from being on one far side and talk about, why are we here? And for Stretch Zone, that's to help people, right? And that connection, people want to do business with people that they like. People want to places that they enjoy being at. And with our service, you're in one of our studios 1, 2, or 3 times a week. If you don't have that connection, it's not a great place to go, you're not going to come.
Exactly. And that connection really builds trust, right? And data can tell you what a customer's doing, but not why, what their feelings and emotions are behind it. So, yeah.
Yeah, really important. People, I say by all the time, people want to interact before they transact. And people want to do business with people they like. And so having those two as kind of pillars with the things that we do here is kind of like our North Star.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree. CMOs are pulled between short-term campaign results and long-term brand building. How do you ensure your marketing stays aligned with the company's growth goals? And where do you find the biggest friction points in making that happen?
I mean, find me a marketer that isn't pulled between those two things. I mean, that's a universal struggle, right?
Yeah.
I think building strength in the brand is really important, and being something, whatever that thing is, right? For us, it's really a singular focus. We do one thing and one thing only, and that is practitioner-assisted stretching. And so when that is the backbone of every campaign, every idea, every initiative we do comes back to that singular thing. So to me, as long as you have a really clearly defined singular focus, you can build on that. You can add, subtract, and kind of maneuver that, but you've got to keep true to your core. And so for us, it's really, really focusing on our service, and that has never wavered. And building upon that gets you the brand strength and that brand equity. And then you can do fun campaigns tied to new initiatives or data or seasons or whatever it is.
Yeah, or target or emotional drivers at each stage, right, of the customer journey as well. Okay, very nice. Okay, in high stakes situations like brand crisis or market turndown, how do you maintain a sense of purpose and empathy while making quick strategic decisions?
So I started working with Stretch Zone as a consultant in the fall of 2019, before there was any internal marketing department. And as you can recall, that was right before COVID. COVID. And so in our business, where we are a hands-on one-on-one service where you're physically touching people on a table, you can imagine when you hear crazy
challenge. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was a wild time, right? And so from my seat, I aligned really closely with our CEO, Tony, and it's like, what are we doing? And our decision that we made at that time was that communication is key. And that even if the communication changes, constant communication with our network, because at the time things were evolving so rapidly, we didn't even know what was happening. Certain states or jurisdictions, were shutting down, and we're here in South Florida, and we were trying to manage it, and it was not manageable. But what we decided was we're going to have a morning stand-up call, literally all the time, just to connect with our network, to offer them support. Even if nothing has changed from yesterday to today, we're still going to get on, and we're still going to be there to support. So I think communication is the key to that. I also know communication is the hardest challenge for almost any organization. And, people consume information differently. So making sure that our communication touch points are kind of omni-channel, right? How can we send out a video and a text and an email and post on our intranet, and making sure that we're hitting all of those points? Because at the end of the day, you want your stakeholders to feel informed and safe. And there's comfort in that. And so that was kind of our guiding principle.
Yeah. And it builds even more trust, right? And security as well, I think, between partners. So, okay. When you're launching a new product or entering a new market, what's been your most effective way to align sales, product, and customer success teams? And where does that alignment tend to break down?
So we're physical in-office organization. So pretty much all of our teams is physically together in the headquarters.
Nice.
We literally do a physical huddle. We have a few different training rooms around here, and we physically go around the table and knock it out. That is the quickest and easiest way for alignment, and I think it's been really effective. Where things break down, to the previous question, is always comms, right? Because just because we think we're being clear doesn't necessarily mean that clarity is translated. And from there, you want to make sure that all the different stakeholders are being communicated with accordingly, right? We can have a great idea here, but if it doesn't hit to the end user or in market, how are we pivoting really quickly? And so we try to launch everything with contingency plans, not just for worst case scenario, but almost like an A/B test of sorts, right? Like, here's what we're going to do, but let's have something right here on the back burner in case we need to pivot quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure that's very effective. It's so important that everyone hears the same story, the same positioning, and has the same market context all together. So, yeah, nice. Can you share a time when customer feedback or behavior data completely shifted your campaign direction, and what that taught you about balancing intuition with analytics?
Yeah, so it's funny. We thought, this was some years ago, we were going to do a New Year's campaign, and we had all this creative, and we called it Jumpstart, and we thought, this is going to be great. New year, new you, new market, completely flat. And we came to realize that people in the new year and they're really focused on fitness, not just wellness. Everybody has their weight loss goals and their new gym goals. So what was happening is that at a time when, this was some years ago, but still to this day a bit, is that the big 800-pound gorillas in the room of these big fitness chains are spending a fortune in December, right? Getting those memberships and trying to take advantage of, all those New Year's resolutioners. We couldn't compete in that space, right? From a budgetary perspective, a logistics perspective, just a capacity perspective in those ad dollars and that awareness. And so we had this great creative, we thought this had this great campaign, and it really kind of flopped, or it didn't have meaningful business impact. And we aligned that, people are not looking for us in the first few weeks of the year. They're looking for their fitness journey. They come to us after that. And so we have really taken that, instead of a jumpstart and a new year, new you message, we've kind of evolved that to be a resolution reset. Get back on track, or does your resolution have you feeling stiff and tight? Or we can help. And so that was a prime example of, we thought this was great. We had a great we're doing it, and it wasn't great.
Honestly, that's so smart and makes a lot of sense, just from my own fitness program. Like when I was doing yoga, and I currently do water aerobics, the classes are jam packed, right? Starting the first part of January, but even towards the end of the month, class sizes really decline. So it's a perfect time to be reaching out to customers that need Stretch Zone, right?
Yeah, and it's funny, back to one of the earlier questions you asked me about data and KPIs, I was actually reviewing this ahead of, the new year this year, and we see our traffic and things start to normalize really like January 26th-ish. So it's really a solid 3 to 4 weeks post New Year that we kind of resume back to normal. So it's interesting.
Yeah, makes so much sense. Okay. Some organizations see marketing as a cost center. What have you found most effective in shifting that perception, and what barriers still exist in tying market efforts directly to revenue?
I think it's funny, right? The old adage of 50% of advertising works, you just don't know which half. I think you can have, at least for our business, we don't need or have the most complex attribution models and all of this stuff to attribute every marketing dollar to a tangible KPI. Some of it we absolutely do, but I think having this balance, and people buy from brands. People buy from brands that they like. And so being able to explain, not to the end user, whether that is the board for budgetary purposes or to our franchisees, that brand matters. And investing in brand is what will build a brand, and that will result in those leads and those sales and all the KPIs that we do track. So I think, to me, it's balancing those two minds. One of it is that top of funnel brand awareness is key and is critical, not just for setting us apart from competition, but really our vertical is still quite new. Practitioner assisted stretching is not like chiropractic care or physical therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows what those are. People are still learning about what we do and what we offer as an industry. And so how do you do that? Well, you build brand. And so that's been a real focus, is how do we lean into who we are and who we are not specifically to establish ourselves in the market, and then leverage that at the studio level with our franchise owners and operators so that they can kind of take that messaging to the next level in their communities.
Yeah, true. And just make sure that higher purpose, right, and the core values of your organization are shared, right, across the board, and constantly being used, right, and talked about and shared in person with customers, I think is really important.
And how does the message get out there? It's funny. Our CEO, Tony, we were talking about, a tagline or a slogan, and he referenced, Arby's, we've got the meats. And I think, great, love that. However, how do you hear that? How do you know that, right? You didn't go on their website and stumble upon it. You don't follow them on social media. You know that because that is a massive media buy, right? That is radio, that is podcast advertising, that is TV, that is constantly in your subconscious. So you're hearing it, and now you can connect it. So I actually use that as a great example. I said, that's great. I love that. But that didn't go because you had a great slogan on a website, right? So how are we making sure that we can really maximize those consumer touch points where our consumers are to get our brand message out?
Right on. From your perspective, what's the biggest challenge in getting your CRM, lead management, and sales tools working in harmony? And how has that impacted campaign performance?
I mean, that's a forever challenge, right? I don't know an organization that doesn't struggle with that.
Me neither.
I know it sounds silly. We have some internal conversations here around definitions. And I know that sounds maybe really simple, but really defining what we're measuring, because words have meaning, right? And different systems and different tools can call different things or the same thing, different things, and vice versa. So the biggest thing for us was really refining definitions. How do we define a member? Because our CRM, for example, could define it as somebody that has a session to use, but our other reporting system, for example, says it's somebody that has an active payment upcoming. Well, those are two very different definitions. And so for us, it was really a big exercise in building the definitions that we want and then implementing those across the systems so that our data is meaningful and complete and really full circle. Because if you're trying to piece together data from different systems, or what is a lead? Well, is it pooled? Is it active? Is it hot? Is it a missed lead? We want to make sure that we're speaking the same language. And so for us, it was a giant exercise in definitions.
Wow, that is honestly a really smart plan and way to act on it. And I think our audience will gain a lot from that. I haven't actually heard anyone else share that particular process before. So thank you. Yeah.
Building an email workflow is easy. Building some automation is easy, and those triggers. But I think, you want to account for all the things that you're not thinking of. And it's almost sometimes less of what you're saying, but more of what are we not saying? For us, we wanted to set business rules in place so that we're not out, reaching out to people. Even if you submit an inquiry at 2 a.m. to us, we're not going to get back to you at 2 a.m. intentionally, right? Of course, with AI tools, we could do real-time response. We have decided that we've set business hours and we stick to those business hours. And so I think taking a step back to understand your consumer, your business, and setting those rules and definitions, then you can build all the different kind of flows on top of it.
From that. Yeah, exactly. What's your approach to developing marketing talent so they not only hit performance goals, but also stay engaged and inspired? And where do you see leaders struggling to retain top talent?
So I think, speaking for my department, but marketing is one of the hardest departments in today's day and age, I think, to manage a really strong team, because the landscape is ever changing. You're expected to be, a subject matter expert on all of these things. SEO is dead. It's AEO or REO, and what is our plan for that? And the implication, it's a lot. And so I think really empowering a team to feel supported is paramount. But I go through this exercise with my team now quarterly that kind of like keep, kill, and combine. What do you love about your job? What is the best part? What do you not like? And how can we compensate for that if we can? With the next hire, do we find somebody that is more apt to do that or enjoy that type of work? And so part of it is removing obstacles to the extent possible. And I think leveraging people for what they're best at, right? If I'm doing what I'm best at, I'm probably going to enjoy it more, and I'm going to be fulfilled and productive and happy, right? And so to the extent that I can do that for my team and even other teams cross-functionally, I think that's a really, really big focus. And then I think, clear direction and vision from the top is paramount. And meaningful feedback is the last kind of thing I'll tell you. My colleague, our COO, Jordan, he shared with me a statement that I use all the time is there's kindness and clarity. And people crave feedback and that feedback loop. And whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, just giving feedback is kind. People want to know how they're doing and where they sit, and making a real conscious effort to work that into the weekly schedule, because you know how it is.
Yeah.
9 million things moving at breakneck speed, but taking a pause to just give, a round of applause and a victory lap when due, I think goes a long way.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. It builds so much loyalty, but also a connection, right, among your teams too.
And the other thing is I'm a huge, huge believer in out of office time. When you're out, you're out. Don't answer. If I hear from you, I'm pissed. People need to take their time, and I really support and enforce that in a super meaningful way.
Oh, wow. I think that's rare in a lot of, I think our company is the same way, but I think that is rare from what I hear in talking with other people about their employers. So I'm sure that's deeply appreciated by your employees. So we're all about purpose and empathy. And so my last question for you today, Lindsey, is around that. When you think about the role marketing plays in your company's future, how do you feel about the role of purpose and empathy in creating genuine resonance, connecting with people in a way that reflects your company's core values?
I mean, it all comes down to purpose, doesn't it? What we talk about here, I say that Stretch Zone is so tied to my personal purpose, because at the corporate level, what do I do all day is I help people. I help small business owners, entrepreneurs, sometimes first-time business owners, find business success. And I help them with my little piece of the pie in marketing, right? I help them sell their services and grow their business. And what are they doing in turn? They're helping their community feel better. They're bringing, mobility and range of motion and a lot of life back to their members through the service that they offer at the studio level. So on a corporate side, I feel that our support is really helping our business owners and that our service is helping the general public. And so when those two things are kind of guiding all decision making and what you're doing, it's clear focus to know that we're helping people. And at the end of the day, it's really easy to get caught up in all the things. It's really easy to want to jump on trends or new things and shiny new objects. But I think a really important skill and something that I personally work out very hard, and I know our org does too, is saying no to a lot of things that can just be distractions. At the end of the day, we're just here to support our franchise owners and the communities that they serve. Getting rid of anything to the extent possible that is a roadblock to that is a real focus.
Yeah. And focusing on solely what matters, right? The support and growth of your teams and the revenue you're driving to support them, their families, everybody that's involved. And then honestly, Stretch Zone, like just the service that you offer is so vital. It supports overall health, longevity. It just has a ripple effect across people's lives, right? When they feel well and they're healthy. So yeah, I love what you're offering. I think it's super, super important to overall wellness, really.
Yeah. Well, we certainly feel that way too.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us on the Bliss Business Podcast, Marketing with Purpose series kit today, Lindsey. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas for how you can align strategy, execution, and purpose in your own work. If you found value in this discussion, like, subscribe, and share it to keep the conversation going. And remember, great marketing doesn't just sell, it serves. See you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.